Kitty, you remember, has fallen ill. Doctors, of course, who Tolstoy hates. And you know, you kind of understand why, because if you know what medicine was like in the 19th century, listen, what medicine was like in 1930, I had relatives who went to medical school then, and I remember one of them telling me, there wasn't, apart from aspirin and opium, there wasn't a single medication still used, and this was, he's telling us in the 80s, that he had been taught in medical school. All you could do was, well, there was one saying that goes, if surgery, opium, or the Bible don't cure them, they're dead. That is, the Bible, you know, talking to somebody, making them feel better, so psychologically they cure themselves. Opium, just to cure pain, and they could do surgery, they could set bones and things like that. Tolstoy hated doctors because they had this pretensive knowledge they didn't have. All doctors, by the way, pretend to have more knowledge than they do have. You have to realize that if you go to doctors. Doctors never say, we don't know. If it comes to worse, they say, I'm referring you to such and such a specialist. Right? Even though they know the specialist will anyway, because you can never admit that there's something you don't know. They think, of course, it's a physical ailment for Kitty, but of course we know, the author lets us know, that it is psychological. She is so deeply upset about how she's behaved, that she's turned down Levin for Vronsky, that she was so incredibly foolish, that she has hurt him and perhaps ruined her own life. And the doctors, all they can say is, this was one of the things they always said then, if they didn't know what to do, go abroad to a health spa and take the waters. And of course, aristocratic families who kind of like to go to places like that anyway, now have an excuse to take their sick child to the spas. You know, today you might say, oh, I don't know, go to the Riviera and take the waters in the Riviera. You might even enjoy yourself. Something like that. Right? So they all go there, and we get Kitty's attempts to make herself feel better. She decides, understandably, and part of the problem has been her whole view of life and what it is to be a young woman. The whole courtship scene seems to her now nothing but like a cattle show, a meat market. And it completely disgusts her, absolutely disgusts her. And the person who, by the way, most disgusts her is Stephen, her brother-in-law, whom she understands quite well. Well, she tries to find something else in life, something meaningful, what she calls something truly important. And as it happens, there are some people who she thinks might know something. One of them is this religious figure, Madame Stahl, who with her sister Aline and her ward Varyenka goes around helping the poor and sick and preaching the gospel to them. Madame Stahl is okay, but the one she really cares about is the one her own age, Varyenka, because Varyenka seems to be a model for how to live. She's never really thinking about herself. She's not focused on slights and humiliations to her, although God knows she must have them in her social position. She just sees the world as it is, accepts her own position, and then wants to go about helping others. She seems confident in her role in life. She must know what's truly important, thinks Marienka. And she decides to imitate her. Everything that Marienka does, she wants to do. She goes around taking care of the sick. Everything Marienka. She even finds herself talking like Marienka and walking like Marienka. If Marienka lives a good life, then what she can do is copy Marienka, and she too will lead a good and meaningful life. Do you understand what's wrong with this? Have we seen this logic before? This is exactly like making agriculture more productive by exactly copying what they're doing in England. Only there you're trying to make agriculture or society better. Here you're trying to make your own character better. And you can't do that. Take a ready-made model, a kind of uniform, and copy, put it on. But it doesn't work that way. You have to be the best version of yourself, not somebody else. If you try to be somebody else, first of all, it won't really take, and you'll be false to it. And second of all, you won't do any good anyway. She finds out, for example, that her attempts to help the Petrovs actually hurt them, caused family quarrels. Well, you know, if Marienka were doing what she was doing, it wouldn't. Marienka's a different person. But in her case, she's acting like Marienka, but she's Kitty, and that kind of causes, and Kitty is much prettier than Marienka, and that causes kind of a little bit of family dissension. You can't just copy somebody else. And she's beginning to know that this is wrong. This is not the way to improve yourself. She's beginning to know that she's actually hurt the Petrovs, so she doesn't want to know. And at last, her father, who's been traveling, comes back. And if you turn to page 261, he's heard that she's been infatuated with Madame Stahl, who he used to know, and Marienka. At first he imagines that Marienka must be a fake like Madame Stahl, but she isn't actually. In the arcade, they met, middle of 261, met Marienka herself. She was walking rapidly towards them, carrying an elegant red bag. "Here is Papa," Kitty said to her. "He's just come." Marienka made simply and naturally, she did everything, a movement between a bow and a curtsy, and immediately began talking to the prince without shyness, naturally, as she talked to everyone. "Of course I know you. I know you very well," the prince said to her with a smile, in which Kitty detected with joy that her father liked her friend. "Where are you off to in such a haste?" "Maman is here," she said, turning to Kitty. That's what she calls Madame Stahl, though she's not actually her mother. "She's not slept all night. The doctor advised her to go out. I'm taking her work." "So that's angel number one," said the prince, when Marienka had gone on. Kitty saw that her father had meant to make fun of Marienka, but that he could not do it because he liked her. "Come, so we shall see all your friends," he went on. "Even Madame Stahl, if she will see fit to recognize me." "Why, did you know her, Papa?" Kitty asked apprehensively, catching the gleam of irony that kindled in the prince's eye at the mention of Madame Stahl. "I used to know her husband, and her too, a little before she joined the Pietists." "What's a Pietist, Papa?" asked Kitty, dismayed to find that what she prized so highly in Madame Stahl had a name. Pietists was the Pietists were a spiritual movement in Germany and Central Europe at the time that wanted to live a more moral Christian life and go about helping the poor and that sort of thing, right? Kitty is dismayed to find that what she prized in Madame Stahl has a name. She's an ex-pietist in this case. What does it matter that it has a name? Well, think of it. You find this wise person who talk to him, who seems to understand you, and gives you good advice, and then you find out that she's learned it all in a correspondence course, from an online, now we say online courses, right? Prefabricated course, and gotten a kind of certificate in this kind of thing. It isn't genuine. You understand? If it has a name, you've put it on wholesale like a uniform. She had assumed that this was the true Madame Stahl, that her piety came from her own being. What she was doing was the expression of her soul. Now she finds out it's like a profession, it's a uniform, right? That's why she's dismayed, okay? It suggests that it's not genuine. I don't quite know myself, says her father. I only know that she thanks God for everything, for every misfortune, and thanks God, too, that her husband died. And that's rather funny, because they didn't get along together. He's making fun of her as she behaved. And skipping a little further, down to the bottom of page 263. Here's Madame Stahl, said Kitty, indicating a wheelchair, where propped on pillows, something in gray and blue was lying under a sunshade. Of course, this shows we're seeing it from Kitty's perspective. We know it's Madame Stahl, but she sees it as something in gray and blue. This was Madame Stahl. Behind her stood the gloomy, healthy-looking German workman who pushed the carriage. Close by was standing a flaxen-headed Swedish count whom Kitty knew by name. Several invalids were lingering near the wheelchair, staring at the lady as though she was some curiosity. The prince went up to her, and Kitty detected that disconcerting gleam of irony in his eyes. He addressed Madame Stahl with extreme courtesy and affability. In that excellent French that so few speak nowadays, he puts on, he's an aristocrat, he's a prince, behaves like one all of a sudden, right? I don't know if you remember me, but I must recall myself to you to thank you for your kindness to my daughter, he said, taking off his hat and not putting it on again. Prince Alexander Sherbatsky, said Madame Stahl, lifting upon him her heavenly eyes. You have to read that with irony, right? In which Kitty discerned a look of annoyance. Is there annoyance in heaven? But she's always seen them as heavenly eyes. People call them heavenly eyes. But now, it jars. Delighted, she says, I've taken a great liking to your daughter. You are still in poor health? Yes, I'm used to it, said Madame Stahl, and she introduced the prince to the Swedish count. You are scarcely changed at all, the prince said to her. It's 10 or 11 years since I had the honor of seeing you. Yes, God sends the cross and sends the strength to bear it. Often one wonders what the goal of this life is. The other side, she said, angrily to Varyuka, who had rearranged the comforter over her feet, not her satisfaction. This doesn't seem exactly like a saintly woman anymore, does it? She has all the high principles, and she's a little nasty too. To do good, probably, said the prince, the goal of his life, with a twinkle in his eye. Not like you're doing, is the implication. That's not for us to judge, said Madame Stahl, perceiving the shaken expression on the prince's face. And then a little further down, we're talking about her. She's just the same, replied the prince. Did you know her before her illness, Prince? That is, before she took to her bed? Yes, she took to her bed before my eyes, said the prince. They say it's 10 years since she has stood on her feet. She doesn't stand up because her legs are too short. She had a very bad figure. Papa, it's not possible, Kitty. That's what wicked tongues say, my darling, and your Varnica catches it too, he added. Oh, these invalid ladies. Oh, no, Papa, Kitty objected warmly. Varnica worships her, and then she does so much good. Ask anyone. Everyone knows her and Aline Stahl. Perhaps so, said the prince, pressing her hand with his elbow. But it's better when one does good in such a manner that no one knows about it. Why is it better to do it good so that no one knows about it? Because if you do it so that because someone knows about it, it's not genuine. You're showing off. Okay, there's an allusion here to a passage in the Gospel, in the Bible, on how to give charity, how to do good to others, and how not to. And it's an allusion here to the passage. Better do good so no one knows of it. Here's the original here. Take heed that you do not do your alms before other people, to be seen of them. Otherwise, ye have no reward of your Father which is in heaven. Therefore, when thou doest thine alms, do not sound a trumpet before thee, as the hypocrites do, that they may have glory of men. Verily I say unto you, they already have their reward. But when thou doest alms, let not thy left hand know what thy right hand is doing, that thine alms may be in secret. And thy Father, which seeth things in secret, shall reward thee openly. If you give charity so that people will praise you, it's just another economic bargain. Right? I always wonder, you go into, churches and there's a little plaque. So-and-so gave so much money to this church. And you think, have they actually read the gospel? That's just what you should not be doing, right? Okay, I mean, I understand that, Chicago Symphony Orchestra, that's not a church, and they don't have to buy that morality. Everybody knows you're giving money to the CSO, so that you get your name on a placard, and everybody will say, aha, he does so much for the arts. In the same way that, people in high school do go down to a soup kitchen to put it on your resume, right? Look, and maybe you've actually given soup to somebody. Maybe he has done something good for the arts. But they suggest something fake, and you're doing it whether or not it does any good. You don't bother you to find out, because that's not the point of it. You do it to sound a trumpet. But the opposite is, you do it so secretly, so inconspicuously, that even your right hand does not know what your left hand is doing. It's a very famous image. Well, Kitty, at this point, learns now that she really has hurt the Petrovs. She recognizes from this exposure of Madame Stahl, she's completely honest, right? That she's been living a falsehood. It's not her. And she has a fit of temper. She says it to Varnica. Turn to page 268. Understand that other people wouldn't have a fit of temper. They wouldn't admit they had done wrong. They would either keep on doing what they were doing or quietly find some other inauthentic thing that they could temporarily believe in, right? Not Kitty. And it serves me right, Kitty cried quickly, snatching the parasol in Varnica's hand and looking past her friend. Varnica felt inclined to smile, looking at her childish fury, but she was afraid of hurting her. How does it serve you right? I don't understand, she said. It serves me right because it was all false, because it was all pretense, and not from the heart. What business did I interfere with outsiders? And it so happened in the course of a quarrel, and that I've done what nobody asked me to do, because it was all a fake. False. Why do you have to pretend? idiotic, so hateful. There was no need whatsoever for me. Nothing but falseness, she said, opening and shuttering the parasol in her nervousness, temper. But why? Oh, to seem better to other people, to myself, to God, to deceive everyone. No, now I won't descend to that. I'll be bad. But anyway, not a liar, not a cheat. Well, her first reaction to finding out that she's been inauthentic, that it's been false, is to say, in that case, I won't do anything good at all, because it's all fake, which would be the equivalent of Levin saying, okay, these reforms don't work, let the peasants be poor. The proper reaction is, if this doesn't work, this type of reform doesn't work, what type has a better chance of working? That's basically, what would be the mature thing for Kitty to do. And when she calms down, that's exactly what she does. She says, at the bottom of page 269, peace was made, but with her father's coming, the whole world in which she'd been living was transformed. She did not give up everything she had learned, but she became aware that she had deceived herself in supposing she could be just what she wanted to be. Her eyes it seemed, were open. She felt all the difficulty of maintaining herself without hypocrisy and self-conceit on the pinnacle that she had wished to mount. But she did not give up everything she had learned. We're going to see her. She knows she's learned how to deal with the sick. And she's not going to live a selfish life. And she's not going to refuse to make herself a better person because she's failed once. She's learned the lesson of how you make yourself a better person, not by copying someone else, but by learning one moral skill or getting rid of one bad habit at a time. And each time you do that, the whole complex of you changes. You get rid of one thing that's relatively important, and the whole complex, everything else changes, not just that. And that will open up another possibility for something you can change. And gradually, over a period of time, not all at once, but gradually, bit by bit, maybe over years, you really do become a better person. You don't become a perfect person. This is not a utopian solution. But you make yourself better, and it's the only way to make yourself better. All right, so much for part 2. Now we go to part 3. Part 3 begins with Levin and his brother Sergei Ivanovich. Sergei Ivanovich is in the country, and they have this long philosophical discussion about the peasants. Sergei Ivanovich has definite opinions about the peasants. He's in favor of them. And everything he knows about the peasants, he knows from books or by logic. Okay, city people like this, so peasants must be the opposite. He knows what a peasant is supposed to be, and therefore he can argue with Levin from that position. But Levin doesn't know what a peasant is. He lives among them, and so the idea that there's a thing called the peasant, it makes about as much sense as if I thought, okay, I know what there's such a thing as the student, and you're all it. And basically, I know what you're all like, right? Well, think about it, how different all of you are. Think about how different students who even aren't here are. Precisely because Levin knows peasants, he has no definite opinion. Is the peasant moral or immoral? Well, he knows good peasants, and he knows peasants who are infuriated because they're lazy and drink all the time. And it's like asking, well, are people good or bad? Well, I don't know. Some are good, some are bad. But Sergei Ivanovich is a theoretician. He derives his opinions from theory, and then he argues as if he's moving around pieces on a chessboard. And he's very good at that, because, okay, this is the peasant, and this is, what this reform is, and this is what, and you move it together, and it looks very neat. You know exactly what to do. And so, when they argue, he is always able to out-argue Levin, because he's just moving things on a chessboard. Levin is actually thinking of real people and real peasants, and he doesn't know what to say. Okay, this is again Tolstoy's irony at this theoretical frame of mind. If you read it through, you'll see it can be very funny in places. And now we go to a really crucial scene, which seems like it has no relevance whatsoever. If you were doing an abridged edition of this book, Reader's Digest condensed books, things like that, for the busy modern person. I always like the idea that people think that modern people are busier than in the age before they had, dishwashers and washing machines and cars and all that. Now we're busy, right? Then they just lie back and enjoy themselves. They didn't work because they didn't have. You leave this passage out. It's the passage where Dolly goes to the countryside with her children and has some trouble there. If you left this scene out, you would probably not miss it. You wouldn't know there was a hole in the book because the basic plot would still work. But remember that camouflage notion. The most important things are the things that do not seem the most important. They are right in front of your eyes, but you do not pay attention to them because you are looking for something exceptional, dramatic, big, plot-worthy. You have to learn to see it different. Remember that the reason all happy families resemble each other is that none of them have a story. This is the model of as we should live. So they go to the countryside, right? And they go there basically to save money. All the money that Stephen is busy spending. And Dolly, of course, Stephen's very happy to get them out of his hands, right? He's a freer hand at home. And they go to the countryside and Dolly asks Stephen, just get the place ready for them. But Stephen, of course, all he can think of is how he would get it ready for bringing a mistress there. Nice curtains and things like that, which is utterly unsuitable to bring children there, right? And she's in despair. Tolstoy's wonderful line about how he thinks about it is, although Stephen tried to be a good husband and father, he never could remember that he had a wife and children. It's in the abstract, a good husband. Well, everything is falling apart. Nothing is working. And then Matthew Filimono gets it to work. Everything is finally okay. And now turn to page 299. And this is a passage that it could be the most important book. Just see now, you were in despair, said Matthew Filimono. They even began to put a bathing suit of straw hurdles. And Dolly began, if not to realize a peaceful, at least a comfortable life in the country. Peaceful with 6 children, Darya Alexandrovna could not be. One would fall ill. Remember, it was started with 5 living children, now it's 6. One would fall ill, another might easily become so, a third would be without something necessary, a fourth would show symptoms of a bad disposition, and so on. Rare indeed were the brief periods of peace. But these cares and anxiety were for Darya Alexandrovna the sole happiness possible. Had it not been for them, she would have been left alone to brood over her husband who did not love her. And besides, and this is the key part of it, Hard though it was for the mother to bear the dread of illness, the illnesses themselves, and the grief of seeing signs of evil propensities in her children, the children themselves were now, even now, repaying her in small joys for her sufferings. These joys were so small that they passed unnoticed like gold in sand. And at bad moments, she could see nothing but the pain, nothing but sand. But there were good moments, too, when she saw nothing but the joy, nothing but gold. What makes a life meaningful is this golden sand. The good, ordinary moments. You'll get one where she sees, she's been punishing her son without dessert, and her daughter brings the son a little piece of cake and is afraid of being caught, but she always just loves it because her daughter has been so thoughtful, right? It's a wonderful moment because it shows her character. It's moments like this that nobody would make a novel out of, that nobody would make a drama out of. Moments like this in your life are what make your life good or bad. If you live for these sort of moments, you will live a good life. It won't be visible from the outside. And if you have these moments and don't value them, well, you will not be understanding your own life. You will not be seeing it correctly. You have to learn how to look in order to see what's really, really